So, hi Gauri. Can you tell a bit about yourself? Where are you from, and why do you do what you do?
Well, where I'm from, I'm very much from India, born and brought up here. My grandmother was a doctor. So, being the attraction for the medical side naturally came from her. I spent over a decade in US. I was studying there, I was working there. And one of the things I realized while living in US versus the life in India is the focus on preventive healthcare is very, very low, and it's like a stark difference. Like here, if even for your regular eye checkup, you only go when there is a problem, but versus in US you see people going for an annual eye checkup irrespective of any number happening or not, or any reading issues or not. So when you see that kind of differences, and then of course you start seeing how it's affecting overall health of the people when it's late diagnosis versus early diagnosis, you realize a lot of things, that why a healthcare system that helps with early detection is really, really important. And that was kind of my motivation to kind of look into the healthcare field. I did my MBA in healthcare law and hospital management in US, and India being a home ground, wanted to bring something back here that can create an impact. So, and being on the lookout as to how we can change perspectives, approaches, things here. And that has been like the focus early on for me. And UE Life Sciences happened to be just right. It just exactly fit the gap that I was looking to fill in. And from there, the journey started with breast cancer early detection and other cancers as well.
So, what is basically UE Life Sciences, and can you sort of explain about your product, iBreastExam? What is the problem that you are trying to solve through this?
So basically, UE Life Sciences is focused on femtech, so female healthcare technologies, and iBreast Exam has been our flagship product, right? So iBreast Exam is all about early detection of breast cancer. The idea was, when we were looking at the breast cancer scenario in India, what we realized, or any other developing countries. What we realized, the challenges were radiologists, the number of radiologists available to read the mammography units or the results. The fact that mammography has radiation, it limits its usage to only women above 45. And we see breast cancer happening a lot in younger women. And third, and the most important factor is, as you look at younger women, they tend to have a higher percentage of dense breast, where mammography is inconclusive. So when we were looking at these challenges, we said, if you want to really enable early detection, then we need something that can overcome these challenges at the same time, maintaining the sensitivity of the gold standard, which is mammography. So that sort of kicked off the journey, and that's how iBreast Exam came into being. And it's been focusing on making sure that the sensitivity is the same as mammography. Again, we are not trying to replace mammography. We believe it's a gold standard. It's worked so well. But from a primary screening perspective or early detection, you need a technology that can be applied across multiple age groups and demographics. And that's where iBreast Exam was meant to fit in.
How is it different from mammography? If you could explain that.
So different from mammography in the sense, see, mammography right now, first and foremost, it requires infrastructure. You need a highly, highly skilled technician, and you need a radiologist to read the report. And without having these things in place, the reading itself, just having a mammogram, is not going to be of much use. Plus, the aspect that mammography has radiation, it limits the age group which can get this test done. So when we look at younger women who are in the planning a family, or women who are in the younger age group like 30 to 40, essentially are not recommended mammography as a preventive checkup. And just given breast cancer the way it is, the early stage has no symptoms, and but also the early stage has the highest survival rate. So we are looking at survival rate of almost 90% when a breast cancer is detected in early stage one. So the idea was, if we have to enable this, then we need to have some technology that's able to bridge the gap uh, between early screening and mammography, which is not happening. So that's where we look iBreastExam kind of sitting in or bridging that gap in that sense.
So is it less painful than mammography?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's less painful because it takes about 10 minutes. It literally feels like a stethoscope on your breast. There is absolutely no pain involved, there's no pressure applied. So from all those perspectives, yes, it's quite usable or user friendly, I would say. And even from women's perspective, we've been talking to a lot of women, older women who have had their mammography. And what we have realized is one of the aspects that really bothers is the process itself, right? Pain is one of the major part, but the whole process of having your breast pressed between two cold metal plates and then going through that pain while being screened is quite intimidating. And none of them, the women around me, actually have refused to repeat mammography even after 2 years, because they just couldn't come to terms with the pain that is there. And as such, even if you look at there was a longitudinal aging study kind of done in India, where they wanted to see what is the mammography uptake, right? And it was, you would be surprised, it's in the range of 1.3 to 1.7%. And we're talking amongst the age group of 45 and 59. And this is the age group that is most likely to develop breast cancer, who's not even now. The rest of it, the younger women who are also equally exposed, are having no opportunity to screen at all. So those who have the opportunity, only 1.3% are getting it done. And the ones who could also develop are having no opportunity to get themselves screened. So I think that is the real challenge with mammography. I think mammography works amazing as a secondary screening device. So, for example, if we were to screen with iBreastExam, if there were to be an area identified with a positive finding, mammography is a great diagnostic tool to kind of look into the BIRATS category and confirm the follow-up clinical process as well.
Okay. So you've been working with UE LifeSciences for more than 10 years, right? And that is like really long time. So what keeps you here? Like what makes you excited to get up in the morning, and go to work? You've been with UE LifeSciences for a long time, right?
Mhm.
So what keeps you excited? How big is this market,
I think the market is big, quite big, but it's not the market that excites. I think it's the journey that we have made, the amount of women we meet, and every group that we are able to convince the importance of early detection. In fact, I'll share with you a couple of incidences without names, of course, wherein these women, a close friend of mine, 5 years ago, she just stopped having mammography because it was too painful, too uncomfortable. She just didn't like the whole experience, and it was she would get quite anxious throughout the process. So she used to have iBreastExam checkup year on year. Last year, we actually found a positive finding, and she went for a follow-up with a mammography and ultrasound, and they confirmed it's a stage 1 malignancy. Now, the regular protocol, she had a surgery, she had a chemo, she had the whole treatment done. But the beauty of it was, while she was going through this treatment, because it was an early stage, she didn't have the regular side effects of losing massive amount of hair, or her skin discoloration or anything of that sort. And throughout the treatment, she was still attending to social functions. Of course, she was not drinking, not having her diet had completely changed. She had become vegan. But other than that, she was able to go through her life with the same confidence, with the same, what do you say, glamour, I would like to call it, because usually cancer is so much associated with women losing their hair and, not looking as good as they would. And that has been one of the demotivating factor for women to come forth and get themselves screened as well, because they they try to wait it out for just another function or just another wedding or just another ritual that is going to happen and then get their checkup done. So when you see these women, fighting breast cancer with the same glamour, with the same confidence, and coming out of it on the other end strong, I believe that sends a very strong message to women from an awareness perspective, especially women around her, right? That, breast cancer does not mean end of life. Breast cancer does not mean you have to stop your social or professional life. You can walk through it, and come out as a winner on the other side with the same confidence as you do with any other, diseases that we have been able to overcome. So I think that is the biggest motivating factor for me and everybody on the team as well. We have almost 90% women's team. So when you see these changes, when you see you're able to convince women to understand breast cancer in a different perspective than what it was preached to be, I think that is the biggest motivator.
Yeah. But still, many women don't go for screening, right? So you guys have done some 2 million screenings.
Yes.
Millions of women still don't go for screening. So this 2 million number is still not enough, right?
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Given the population and the countryside, it's definitely not enough. But you know what? You have to start somewhere. And we have seen this throughout our corporate checkups. So we've been working with a lot of partners who've been doing a lot of behind that is, why wait for a woman to come to a hospital or a clinic if you can take the device to them? It takes literally about 7 to 10 minutes of your time to get them screened in the medical facility of their office. And if there is a requirement that requires them to have a follow-up, then they can be referred to the nearby hospitals for whatever clinical workflow that needs to be followed later. So the idea is you start somewhere. I think the most important thing for us is the women who got screened with iBreastExam have come back, reached out again and again, year on year, to get a checkup done, and every year it's been growing, where they recommend a friend, they recommend their mothers, they recommend their sisters. And I think that is very promising for us, because it's people or women who are using it are feeling confident enough to talk about it to other women. So that is how we look at from a growth perspective.
Also, can you elaborate more on your model? How, like, I read somewhere that you reach out to your target customer through community health workers, right? So, who is your ideal, target, and why this model of reaching out through community health workers rather than, say, doctors or hospitals?
Okay, great question. See, the one of the biggest challenges we are facing in India, as I mentioned before, is the radiologist. So if you have to just compare between US and India, we have in US they have one radiologist per 10,000 people of the population. In India, it's one radiologist per 1 lakh.
Yeah.
Now, that's a huge discrepancy. And we are talking, I mean, these radiologists and these doctors are already busy catering to the symptomatic population. They're not even free. They're working crazy hours, like, morning 8 to night 1 a.m. I know oncologists who have been taking patients at 3 a.m. in the morning, because that's the kind of workload they have on their table. Now, you cannot expect them to stretch them beyond this and go about screening asymptomatic population. That's just not going to be possible. What iBreastExam is doing for them is screening the asymptomatic population, funneling down the ones who are with a positive finding that actually require a doctor follow-up, right? Now, when we say why ASHA workers, I feel ASHA workers are a great way to build relationships and create awareness. When you see a woman from your own community coming to your doorstep saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to take about 7 minutes of your time and I'm going to do the breast screening at home in your own comfort zone, so you don't have to feel uncomfortable or anything. And while she's there, she's going to be the mouthpiece for cancer awareness. So iBreastExam becomes the tool. She becomes the awareness piece. And together, we are creating awareness at points where we never thought we could reach, because these women are there able to travel to the interiors and interact with these women. And, at the end of the day, a woman to woman conversation, a woman is more likely to believe when it's coming from her counterpart from the same community. So we
They
need to
don't
leverage that.
test
I mean, we have designed iBreastExam in a way wherein it can be, if reach is the ultimate agenda when it comes to breast cancer screening, then you have to leverage these community healthcare workers.
So, but they don't administer the test, right? So they have to come to like a PHC or somewhere to undergo the test, or
No. So we actually did a very interesting screening program in Gujarat where we had a group of 3 trained operators who would go to the village. So there was Helping Hands Virginia Foundation from US who was funding it. There was a team of doctors who initiated this program, and you know what they said, like, let's say a 3-woman group of trained operators with 3 iBreastExam device was sent to a village, where would be dropped off in the morning to a village. These women would go door to door in the village, screening women, creating awareness, and then if there was anyone positive, was either brought back to a district hospital for a follow-up using a mammography or ultrasound. And from there on, the doctors would take charge and prescribe whatever the next steps would be. So it's no longer about limiting the device to PHC. If you see the device, it's completely battery powered. You charge like your regular cell phone, and on a single charge, it runs for about 12 hours. That is more than your camp times. And I'm talking on a continuous screening basis. So you can do at-home screening, you can do corporate screenings, you can do screening anywhere and everywhere where you can have a basic small room with a bed to lie down. You don't need AC, you don't need any other kind of infrastructural setup to, administer the test.
okay. Interesting. So you also work with government bodies, right? So
Of course.
how easy was it, or how difficult was it to work with government bodies like HLL and Life Care? HLL Life Care, right? Yeah.
HLL Life Care, yeah. No, I think they have been great partners. More importantly, HLL is, of course, our partners in implementation. And because they have been in the field for so long, they most definitely understand the need for early detection. Because, again, when we talk about early detection, we are not just talking about saving lives, but from a government perspective, we are also talking about saving the amount of money that goes into each treatment. So whether it's chemo, whether it's radiation, the amount required is much lesser compared to what it would be if a cancer were to be detected in the last stage. And plus, not to mention, you are losing a life there as well. So the benefit goes well beyond just detection. I think it's more of life saving, and also from a government perspective, being able to save money so that the reach can be extended to a lot more women.
Okay. So your device is FDA approved, right?
FDA approved, yes.
So was it very difficult to get into collaboration with government hospitals?
I think I wouldn't say.
Do you have any types with?
Yeah, of course. So we are working with Goa government. We have screened over 1.5 lakh women there. We are still screening, because see, again, you have to understand, breast cancer, early detection of breast cancer is not a one-time thing. It's a year-on-year test, right? So we are very much working closely with the Goa government. The health minister, Mr. Vishwajit Rane, has been very proactive. In fact, he has made sure that any woman who gets detected positive on iBreastExam will get all the follow-up tests, including the treatment free at the GMC. And when I talk about treatment, it includes injections that come from, pharma companies like Roche as well. which are quite expensive. So being able to extend that kind of support to these women is incredible. Same thing, we are working with all the government medical colleges in Maharashtra. We have already completed 1 lakh screening, and right now we are in phase 2, where the colleges have repurchased scans and cartridges from us, and now they are going for the second phase of screening. So, tie-ups with these colleges and or the medical, the GMCs of the country allows us to close the loop at all through the end, right? So it's not just about detecting, but now it's also making sure that you're closing the loop from treatment perspective and follow-ups and everything. So yeah, in that case, I would say the government, has been quite cooperative, because also we are using the infrastructure that they have, like PHCs and CHCs, and we are able to use the ASHA workers, which are again a part of the government system. So yeah, it's been good working with all of them.
So, but as you expand, right? So, one of the
Right.
biggest debates or challenges for any CEO is the quality versus quantity debate, right? So,
Right.
how do you ensure quality during a growth phase or an expansion phase?
I think, of course, you have, ISO approvals and other things and audits that happen. But other than that, I think one of the things that we as a company have very much focused is who we make a part of our team. So the people we hire. I think I'm very blessed to have everybody, whoever's there on my team, I'm very blessed to have them, because they understand what we are trying to do, and they bring the same enthusiasm and passion to the table. And when you have people like those working with you, I think, when whether you're talking about quality or you're talking about implementation or execution or operations, it becomes that much easier, because, they're running the race with you with the same passion, same enthusiasm. I mean, Maithili is here on the call, so she's one of our team members too. And, absolutely great to have her on the team, helping us with all these initiatives. So I would say, yes, it's a teamwork. It's not just me, but we have phenomenal team. And I have, as I said, it's a majority women's team. And, they have called me up and they have said, what, this conference is happening. I would love to attend this. And I'm like, you don't have to, you're already on leave. So that just speaks a lot about how they feel about the company, how they feel about the product, how much they believe in it. And, that's a big blessing for me.
Yeah, a good team is very important.
Yeah.
The company, right? So moving on to the next question, right? See, currently AI is the buzz, right? Everyone is talking about AI. But when it comes to like a government hospital or a primary hospital in a village in Maharashtra, is it really making any impact? What is the true picture right now? So that because you are working in that space, right? So you will be able to give us like an insider perspective about it.
I think AI does make a difference. And, again, I'll purely talking from iBreastExam perspective. For example, let's say when we send an ASHA worker to get the lady screened, we do have AI enabled algorithm that allows for, the detection, or rather it allows the operator to let the patient or the woman know if there is a finding or not. Now, had it not been AI enabled algorithm, what would happen is it would take some time for the reports to be processed. Then, you have to track back the woman who's positive, talk to her, convince her. Here, because the reports are generated right at the end of the screening, the ASHA worker kind of, is able to record that, make sure, convince the woman to come to the district hospital for a follow-up. All that thing happens simultaneously. So I feel AI definitely plays a huge role when it comes to going to the interiors of, and, from a healthcare perspective, because it allows you to give some form of, I wouldn't say diagnosis, but some form of report that is able to distinguish between women who need to come forth for the follow-up or the secondary test or not.
Okay. How has been the response from the healthcare industry, especially from CXOs of hospitals? Or if I have to change the question and ask you, so if you have to convince a hospital CXO to invest their money in early detection, right? How will you do it? Because the focus always in India has been on treatment rather than prevention, right? Yeah. So how would you like convince a CXO to invest, say, in iBreastExam?
Okay. So first and foremost thing, right, when it comes to any new medical technology, the question boils down to, so on that level, let me just put it this way, it is at the same sensitivity and specificity as the, right? So we are at par with this. Now, as earlier, as I mentioned from the study that we have done in India, in spite of these hospitals having mammography set up, you only see 1.3% to 1.7% women coming for a follow-up, right? So whether it's from a business perspective or whether it's from a healthcare perspective, mammography right now is at a standstill. It's not helping us bridge the gap. It's not helping us get the results that we want. If iBreastExam were to be brought on board, what they can do is create a reach for the rest of the population that is not stepping their foot into the hospital to get screened by mammography. So you're helping create that primary screening segment. And then from that, whoever's positive is going to still come back to mammography for a follow-up. So while you're helping with early detection, you're also helping increase the footfall to the mammography for early stages.
Okay.
So it's a good, I would say, a partner device to mammography to have. Plus, you can do outreach programs which have not been possible with mammography. As I said, you can do corporate screening at the location. You can do door-to-door screening. You can offer at-home screening, which a lot of our partners are also doing because women like if something can be brought to their doorstep for breast screening.
Have you tied up with any private hospitals in India? Who are your primary partners?
So we have tied up with the doctors, and through doctors, so when it comes to the hospitals, as I mentioned, we are working with certain private hospitals in Mumbai for their corporate screening arm. In fact, we also did a screening program through Hinduja, wherein we did screening for all the police women and their families of Mumbai.
Okay.
And again, the whole approach was the same because these women are so busy, they're not going to be able to come to the hospital for a screening.
Okay.
So we were able to, dispatch the device to their location, to the police station, wherein, we were given a small room where these women would come and go based on their availability and get themselves screened.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So these are the, when you talk about approaches, you can get as innovative as possible because, again, as I said, we don't need an infrastructure. We don't even need a plug point. We just need the normal medical bed to just lie on or any bed to just lie down for about 5 minutes and the screening is complete. You don't require gel. It does not have any contraindications. Even pregnant ladies can get it done. So it's as safe as your cell phone because it's almost the similar technology that we are using. We have capacitive sensors, which is what is used in your touchscreen phone. What we have is a dynamic coplanar version of it. But it's so if a lady can use a cell phone, then she can use iBreastExam, and there's no contraindication.
Interesting. So, but what are your future plans now?
Future plans is we are, the idea is to grow partnerships. As you clearly mentioned, 2 million is not that big a number when we talk from a reach perspective. So the idea is to make this as a standard of care so that, every woman has access to it, is able to get herself screened, and if possible, bring down the number of deaths that are happening in India due to breast cancer. Because I think as per the Globocan data that happened, I think back in 2014, India was ranked highest in entire Asia from breast cancer deaths. So if we could bring bring down those numbers. I mean, we are talking about 50% of our population, right?
Yeah.
And we are going to get older, and this is the population you want to maintain because these are the productive segment of the community.
And a lot of people don't go for follow-ups primarily because it is very, if not painful, it is not so convenient also, right?
Yeah. And see, Arunima, culturally also, if you see Indian women or you talk to Indian women, the way the mindset is designed or cultivated is, okay, you do follow, do your work, then you have home duties, and then children duties and husband duties. And if after beyond that you get time, let's think about yourself. So breaking that mindset has been one of the biggest challenges. That is why you see very few women taking that initiative, going to the hospital, spending a day saying, I'm going to get my full body checkup or whatever. You don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Right? You will see a woman accompanying her husband. You would rarely see a married woman taking time off by herself saying, today I'm just going to go to the hospital and get myself checked.
Absolutely true.
So in case of these women, if you can bring something to their doorstep, wherein they just have to spare 7 minutes of their time, that's a game changer, right? Now you're enabling it. And then the more lives you save, those women in turn are going to be your awareness mouthpieces. They are going to talk about it as to how you can. And again, it's bit by bit. If you can change the scenario of breast cancer, then that would be one of the biggest blessings.
Once you do the test, then you have to do a mammography again.
So let me put it this way. If a mammography is not available, a targeted ultrasound also works. Because essentially, iBreastExam identifies the location. You need a radiologist to then kind of follow up on that location to understand whether the lump is malignant or benign, or, what is the BI-RADS category that we're looking at. So yeah, for immediate use, a targeted ultrasound should also be sufficient as a next follow-up step.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Gauri.
Thank you, Arunima. Thank you for your time as well.
Just 1 second.